I first learned about love from men when I was a boy. I grew up the youngest of three boys in a small town in central Massachusetts. And I remember one summer night, I was sitting with my family at the dinner table and happily eating a hot dog. And all of a sudden I started to choke and the hot dog got stuck. And I was scared and confused and I couldn't breathe. And all of a sudden my dad reaches across the table and the hot dog comes flying out across the room. And again I could breathe. And this isn't an entirely remarkable anecdote to unfold across the American dinner table, but what feels remarkable to me and what I remember feeling from my dad was him as a loving protector, as a man, as a father. I felt his vigilance, his presence, his using force in a skillful way so as to protect life and to protect innocence. I'll never forget that.
How did I first learn about love from men? Well, when I first heard the question, I noticed that there wasn't an immediate answer at the ready, which brought up some sadness for me, because I'd like that to be immediate, and clear, the love of men. Some images that are coming to mind right now are sort of the image of my grandpa sitting in his chair reading the newspaper, and sort of this inscrutable presence, not impassive, but just, where are you, Grandpa? Do you want a hug from me when we say goodbye? Not really knowing where the love is at. Yeah, and then seeing those ways where love began to come in. I'm thinking now of my dad and playing catch with him, and it sounds so almost trite, but that was real. There was real love there, and I couldn't wait. I loved playing catch with him as a kid, and I was sad when we didn't anymore. And there was kind of like a moment when we didn't anymore, around when I was 15. And yeah, going to the movies with Dad, connecting in that way and experiencing love in that way. And then I think I popped out into an awareness in myself that I wanted so much more. Not more, but just, yeah, what is the love of men? When it's not hidden behind a newspaper or channeled into playing catch. Nothing wrong with those. Those are beautiful too, but yeah, what is the love of men? Direct and unhindered, unedited, without a middleman. Bright shining sun right in, What does that love look like? When we're not ashamed of it, or when we don't think it means something threatening to our status as men. What if we were allowed to love in that way? what if we loved ourselves in that way? Which brings me to one of my mentors, Daryl Slim, and I've learned so much about love from him, mostly in the way that he loves himself, truly. He's a man who truly, authentically loves himself and knows himself as love, as lovable. And that has been so instructive for me to see what it looks like for a man to be in relationship with himself in that way. And that's how I want to be in relationship with myself, you know? Because I know how good it feels to be around him. And the reason it feels like that is because he's loving himself and knows himself as yummy, delicious, beautiful, and lovable, and powerful. And so that's what I'm striving to do now, is be with myself in that way, and to give that gift to the people in my life. How about you?
All right, here we go. I got a microphone on now. Luckily I didn't go very far, but I spoke into this little camera contraption earnestly for a couple minutes, and then realized I got no mic. But I think I'm mic'd up. I think I'm good. I think I'm ready to go. The question that was thrown out to Martin and to Andrew is one that I want to answer as well, and that the question is, where did you first learn about love from men? And the story that's coming to mind is turkey hunting with my grandpa, my papa, and there's a couple different aspects to that particular scene, hunting. That taught me about love. And one of the first was the kind of love that my grandpa showed me after the hunt. And when you're little and you're hunting, you don't do anything. The name of the game is don't do anything. Do nothing. And it's just follow closely behind your grandpa, your papa. Trust him as he leads you into the forest, into the dark forest. It's 3:30, 4 a.m. The wind, the stars are just, and they're soon gone because you're in the forest with your grandpa, and you're 7 years old, 8 years old or something. You're just trusting your grandpa, and then you go to this tree that he has deemed the tree, and you both lean against it. And to be a good hunter when you're 7 or 8 is to do nothing, is to sit there quietly and hear a beetle fall out of the tree and start moving around in the leaf litter, is to hear some buzzing around your ear and not swat. The first part of the hunt, my phone's on. How unprofessional. Alright, we're back in silent mode. Yeah, the first part of the hunt is a lot of hearing, at least for me as a little kid, because it's dark and there's not seeing. You're looking, sure, but it's just dark. And then the sun starts to slowly make its way into the forest. And we're at a forest edge. We're not in the forest. We're at a forest edge. We're overlooking a field, which I didn't even know was there, But yeah, the sun starts to do its thing and rise, and the darkness gives way slowly, slowly, slowly. You start to see trees and start to see, I could see my grandpa out of the corner of my eye, leaning against the tree that I'm leaning on. And dogs are barking right now and distracting me. I'm trying to talk about love here, okay? Love from men. Barking dogs. And then now it's dawn, Now like the sun is up and the birds are singing and now Papa goes to work calling in his little mouth calling in some toms, some jakes, some hens, just like try to get some action. But we're getting off track. Love for men. Come on, Pete. But we're not off track. We're totally on track. This is my grandpa showing me about love. And what he's showing me is like his love for the natural world, his love for a tradition, his love for that miracle of dawn, his love for being able to talk to animals. He puts a call in his mouth that allows him to talk to birds, and that birds talk back to him, and they have conversation. Taught me about love, and he never once mentioned love. He never once, it's so beautiful, never once said, you see how important this is? Do you see how beautiful it is? Can you hear a difference now that the sun is up in the bird song? Did you feel the discomfort of following me into the forest? Did you feel the rush when you discovered where you are at this field edge against this big oak? He didn't ask me any of those things. He's not pointing at it, He's not pointing at it. It's beautiful. He's just bringing me along into something beautiful. And what's beautiful is called the dawn. And what's beautiful is called a man like showing his love and devotion to the dawn and showing his love and devotion to the earth by waking up early, showing up to it, staying up late the night before, finding out where these turkeys are roosting, to deepen his connection with the land. And he's not telling me what he's doing. He's like, this is about deep connection, grandson. No. He's just sitting against the tree, farting occasionally, calling, making hen calls. So that's one of the first chunks about men and love. And it was witnessing and being a part of a man loving the dawn. And the excuses required to love the dawn, which is carrying a gun, which is calling and talking to animals, which is maybe shooting one, and then going through the process of cleaning it and holding on and taking the beard, the turkey beard, and preserving it, and maybe taking the fan of the tail and preserving it, and picking the shot out of the breast and putting it on the table. And how that's just like a part of romancing the dawn, being romanced by the dawn. It's beautiful. So that's the first part. The second part is it was witnessing my pawpaw and his buddy, Phil. No, his name is Phil. Was witnessing my papa and Richard talk about hunting, which is basically was just two lovers talking about the fucking dawn, you know? Oh, it's so sweet. And both of these beautiful men grew up in Alabama. Both farmers. And to hear their accents, the way they would talk. Richard, he would always start with Phil. My papa's name was Phyllis. We went by Phil. Phil, you remember that? Remember that fall where the tamaracks all turned smoky gold? We were sitting down in that swale, and you had that slate call, and you were dragging that cluck call on that slate pan, and they would just talk, beautiful talk. You called in those big toms that came in. It just didn't matter what they said. And I'm just like a little kid observing this, watching this, listening to this, I'm not aware of the beauty of what I'm around, you know, at that point. I'm just kind of like a little kid, just kind of listening. And as I've gotten older, I'm like, how lucky was I to be around these two men, talk about their love for the land, their keen observation of it, how they would use different weather events and seasonal events to note what year it was, what time of year it was. They could remember individual turkeys. These are men in their 80s, remembering individual turkeys from 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. Individual turkeys, you know? And to hear them tell the legend of each other to each other, you know? For Phil, that's my papa, to like he would bring up the stories where Richard shined, you know? Is it shined or shone? Doesn't matter. And Richard would bring up the stories where Papa shined or shone. It doesn't matter. And that shining looked all kinds of different ways. Looked like the time when my papa forgot that he had his bug net over his face, and he kept trying to put his turkey call into his mouth through the bug net and couldn't figure it out. That's a story in which Richard wants to tell so that my papa can be seen and loved in just his, you don't have to just like be calling everything in perfectly and taking the best shot. It's like you can just be a human. And thank God, you get to be a human. You get to like have schmutz on your face. You get to have spinach in your teeth. And we love you. I love you. And without saying I love you, showing it in their way, in their Alabama country boy way. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That these two men can love each other by loving the dawn and all that the dawn brings. And that they can welcome me into it and welcome my dad into it. So that's one of the times that I remember learning about love from men, where the word love was never said, you know. There was no cinematic moment of chasing the train as it left the station. There was no standing at the altar. There's no big hug and twirl around, and no, it was guys talking about the dawn and talking to birds and birds talking back. Yeah, it's one of the first times that I learned about love from men. Thanks for listening. So sweet.
I don't know everything I wish I did about being a loving man. I'd like to know more. I'd like to peel back the mask of my own masculinity and the mask of masculinity in our culture. And that leads me to the next question I have to the group, which is, what do you wish you had learned growing up about what it means to be a man?